I would now like to welcome back to the stage Sergeant Selzer to share his personal experience serving as a lone soldier in Israel.
Shalom, my name is Dillon Selzer, and I served as a sergeant in the Israeli Defense Forces. More specifically, I was a lone soldier serving as a tank driver in the 53rd Battalion of the 188th Armored Brigade. A lone soldier is a soldier in the IDF with no family in Israel to support him or her. A lone soldier can be a new immigrant, a volunteer from abroad, an orphan, or an individual from a broken home. As a new volunteer in the Israeli Defense Forces, I didn't speak a word of Hebrew. Luckily, the IDF welcomed me with open arms by sending me to a special base called Mikveh Alon, where lone soldiers are immersed into the culture of the Israeli army. We studied Hebrew and did a whole lot of push-ups. In just 3 months, I went from barely being able to order a falafel to being qualified to drive a tank. Aside from the obvious language difficulties, lone soldiers are forced to cope with many other challenges. IDF soldiers and combat units typically serve a 12 days on, 2 days off schedule, meaning 2 weeks on base and 1 weekend at home. For most Israeli soldiers, this weekend at home means a weekend to relax and enjoy a restful Shabbat with your family that can also help with everyday chores, such as laundry and preparing Shabbat dinner. The soldiers' families also serve as a support system by understanding the hardships a soldier endures during the 2 weeks he or she was on base. In the case of most lone soldiers like myself, this weekend off means rushing to buy groceries before Shabbat, preparing food for yourself, and doing laundry for 2 weeks' worth of army clothes, all the while trying to catch up on sleep before returning back to base first thing Sunday morning. Even with all the hardships that coincide with being a lone soldier, thanks to the warm nature of the Israeli people and the generosity of the FIDF, I, along with many other lone soldiers, are given the much-needed support to focus our efforts and energies solely on our duties as soldiers. Not a weekend went by in my service that I was not invited over to one of my fellow soldiers' homes for Shabbat, and on weekends that I went back to my own home, I was provided with a stipend to one of the larger Israeli grocery stores, courtesy of the FIDF. There is a reason the IDF is considered one of the best armies in the world. The training was grueling. The worst of it was War Week. I'll spare the major details, but simply put, for an entire week we were cramped in a tank and not allowed to step outside as we simulated a week in a warlike environment. When we finally got back to base, you can imagine how badly we needed a shower. The base was heaven compared to the tank. These things that we usually take for granted were truly appreciated, and it was all thanks to the friends of the IDF who donated these things to better our base. It makes it so much easier to go through the challenges of War Week when we feel support like this from communities such as this one. Small comforts like care packages and holiday stipends make a huge difference in the life of an Israeli soldier. It gives our bodies and spirits a boost that is so badly needed and rejuvenates us so we can do our job of defending our homeland. We are extremely thankful for the support from FIDF and the Jews around the world who are relying on us to keep Israel safe. One of my fondest memories of my time in Israel was seeing the shift from Yom Hazikaron to Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israeli Independence Day. Having been in Israel on Yom Hazikaron for several years, I have seen firsthand the deep appreciation and somber emotions expressed throughout the country for their fallen soldiers. It is also no coincidence that in Israel, Yom Hazikaron, which is the saddest and perhaps the most difficult day of the year, is immediately followed by Yom Ha'atzmaut, the most joyous and festive day of the year. Israelis recognize and appreciate that it is because of the soldiers' deep sacrifice and commitment to protecting the homeland that the Jewish people are able to prosper and live freely in the land of Israel. Today, we recognize the great sacrifice of our fallen soldiers. Like myself, I know there are many in our community who understand firsthand the unique commitment demonstrated by lone soldiers, and I'm honored to tribute to those brave men and women today who previously served or are currently serving in the IDF as lone soldiers. Thank you.